Hello and welcome back to the Movie Pope podcast. And today we are taking a look at the trailer for Wicked for Good, which drops on November 21st. Now, now, starting in December, we're going to start taking a look at movies that are on the list for the 2026 Academy Awards. And we've looked at a few so far, Lee, because we've looked at Sinners and K-pop Demon Hunters. But the one we have yet to take a look at, but the one we have yet to take a look at is Wicked for Good. Now, have you seen the first Wicked? Because I only watched the first 10 minutes of it.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. No, I did see the first one, right? I kind of went to it knowing that's two parts, and honestly, probably would have been worthwhile to kind of just wait for the second one to come out, so this way you could kind of experience it as a whole.
Yeah.
So always kind of, I would say, kind of an interesting choice when. You kind of break up these films into multiple parts with, long times in between because, if the first part kind of fails, you're going to have some struggles with the second part coming out. So, an interesting gamble to say the least for their style. But obviously the first one had a lot of success around it. So I imagine that this one's going to garner plenty of interest with it. So, I'll be curious to see what part two looks like.
Now we are going to be doing a review of both Wickeds, or I guess you could say Wickeds. We're going to be doing a review of both of these movies around February and March as we get closer to the Academy Awards. So that's something that we can dive in depth, around that time. But just for a teaser, was there anything in the first movie that you saw that made you think, oh, okay, that makes sense? I can see why it got nominated for the 2025 Oscars.
No. I mean, let me rephrase that, right? The costumes, the sets, they look phenomenal, right? I absolutely will give them tons of praise for that. It looks really good, right? I think it captures kind of this very cool aesthetic that I think we saw a little bit like in the Wizard of Oz films. So I think they really did it great justice to bring it to the screen the way they did. But my whole issue at the time, and I don't think anything's really changed with that, is just I didn't know if I would care much for the story. And after watching it, I can safely say I don't know if I'm going to care much for the second part of the story because I feel like it went down the path of what I figured it was going to go with is like, oh, cool, we're going to, make the evil witch, but she's going to be just a misunderstood witch. And I feel like they're really trying to hammer that in. So I guess we'll see what the trailer shows. But story-wise, I just didn't really, I would say, care enough about the story they're trying to tell.
Yeah, and the fact that they split this up into two-part movie, I kind of feel like, was there anything in the first movie that they could have excised to kind of,
of course,
tell a complete story? But it is what it is. But without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at Wicked for Good.
Like I said, I mean, sets look incredible, right?
Before the monkeys spot you.
There's no going
I wonder who
back.
that was.
This is between us, the wizard, and I.
She actually has powers.
Forever.
She's all powerful.
Not
oh
with
wow.
Prince Fiero and his squadron.
Is that Storm, except in a different universe?
I don't know.
The wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Hey,
no one believes in me more
what
than
color
I
were
do.
those? What color were those bricks?
Oh yeah, yellow.
They're coming for you.
I've heard it said that people come into our lives.
I guess I have to say kudos to you for the songs, right? I don't be totally bitter to it, right? There's a lot of elements that work well. But obviously, the story has always been kind of my iffy thing.
Think of what we could do together.
Like a comet pulled from orbit as it
What's that? We're trying to get through the Wizard of Oz, right? Our crew there.
Bring me the broom of the wicked.
Oh yeah, we also got the Origin of the Flying Monkeys if you're curious about that. Oh wow, they just happened right there.
For a while there, I thought you changed.
I have changed.
It's time. For both of us.
Is Dorothy them going to like deal with
You're the
the
only
Wicked
friend I
Witch
ever
now?
had.
Now I got a lot of questions over what they're gonna do with this.
And I've had so many friends.
I have been changed for good.
But only one
Also, I thought that
time.
water was a weakness. Like she's crying. Her tears not water.
I'm off to see the wizard.
Hey, get it? 'Cause that's in the dwarf.
It's a shame we know because she's gonna, get doused with water and she's gonna melt and that's it.
I know,
So,
right? Though now it does pull up the question, and just to be clear, right? I'm gonna watch it, right? I watched the first one. I feel indebted to watch the second one.
But keep in mind too. I mean, we are going to be doing review of both movies anyway
Oh.
next year. So
Sure. Okay, so now I'm obligated to do it. It's in my contract, right? So I gotta make sure I check it out. So I mean, it's a continuation of a story, and I will say at least something that's gonna be interesting, right? To see Dorothy, Tin Man, Scarecrow, Lion, all together at the same time. I think that's I would say like an interesting kind of like tie-in with everything, because now we kind of get, I guess, more of a glimpse of everything that's going to happen. And The Wizard of Oz, probably one of the most iconic movies ever created, right? I think everyone's seen it or knows about it. It has certainly stood the test of time. Actually, I think recently they had like done something at the Las Vegas Globe Dome thing or whatever. They had like recreated or like enhanced like the Wizard of Oz, the original one from the early 30s.
yeah.
So I mean, there's obviously a lot of notoriety for it. So I think what it does well is a lot, right? If you're someone that is interested in those like visuals, the aesthetic, it absolutely has it, right? If you're interested in the singing, which is great, right? I am not going to throw any shade on that. The singing is great. So if you're in there for just listening to experience it, it's great. It's just, the story just doesn't stick out, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? There's a lot of things that have just kind of, a standard or kind of, it doesn't try to do anything with it. I think my main gripe has always been, seeing these characters, right, having these villains and trying to kind of rewrite them or try to give them this different look and be like, oh, that they weren't so bad, they were just misunderstood, right? And it's just
we'll also, Lee, keep in mind, I mean, this is an adaptation of the Broadway musical, which itself was an adaptation of a book from from the mid 90s. So
yes, and I will totally say, right, my only way I've looked at this, right, is through watching the original Wizard of Oz, right? So
Yeah.
I do have a very narrow mindset for what it is, and I'm sure I would not be unique with that mindset. So, but yeah, like there might be very reasonable things that like I would just have to know. But I think only seeing half of the puzzle has kind of made it like a lot more writing on this to see what they want to do with it. So. I will say that there's plenty of things that look good, sound good, and I'll certainly be out there to watch that. So I'm all on board to check it out and see how it concludes. I'm just interested in how they want to tell the story, and more importantly, now that we see that, we see Dorothy and everyone there, it's like, okay, well, now what are you going to do, knowing that you've kind of focus a lot on really humanizing, Elphaba, right? The Wicked Witch of the West. know,
Yeah.
Alphaba, whatever however the hell they pronounce in it. You know, you did that. Like, what do you do now? I mean, do you do something where she dies at the end? Because damn, that would be pretty gutsy to have something like that happen. Or, like I said, do we find out that, hey, you know what? The Wicked Witch of the West, yeah, it was weird that she had a weakness to water. Maybe that was just a spell or magic trick that made her like disappear. So this way, you know, people thought she was dead, but she really isn't, right? So I think that there's some interesting things you can take with it now that you're kind of bringing in this other well-known commodity with the original Wizard of Oz. So we'll see what we got.
So I mean, so to your point, I mean, we did see Dorothy and her friends, you know, prancing on the yellow brick road, and it sounds like the wizard is giving them this mission to, you know, bring in the witch or whatever it is. Do you kind of feel like, you know, that little group, they're just basically accessories to murder, possibly? like they're being used as tools to kind of eliminate the, you know.
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
wizard.
There's no doubt about it, right? Yeah. No, I think you hit the nail on the head, right? There's no doubt about it, right? Like, you know, we've known in the first one, right? So spoilers if you didn't see it, right? We know that the you know, the head guy is fake, right? We know that he's not he doesn't really have any powers or anything like that. So I mean, they are setting up like for exactly that reason, right? I mean, we knew the wizard in the Wizard of Oz. We knew he didn't really have any powers, right? Like that was just all a guy. So yeah, I mean, we know that, and kind of to see him pulling the strings, I think does add a interesting dynamic to the storytelling now that we know a little bit more about it, because now we're getting a totally different aspect of it, right? Because we saw through, you know, Dorothy's eyes, like she's trying to meet the wizard, and you know, he confides with her that he can't really do this, and you know, talks about the Wicked Witch. So you know, he was obviously a big factor into everything that happened. So now, you know, what does it say knowing that the Wicked Witch of the West is really not that wicked, and that maybe there's other things pulling the strings? It does make for an interesting climax to what they're going to do with this. And my gosh, like I'm just thinking like the first one was fairly long, right? Do you remember the runtime for the first one?
Oh, let me check here. Because I think it was close to 3 hours, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I felt like it was on the longer side. I don't recall how long it was. Let's see, runtime was.
Oh, it says 2 hours and 41 minutes. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So you know, quite a lengthy story, and then I'm gonna be curious to see how long this one is as far as runtime goes, because yeah, that's a very hefty thing there. So if it's anything like the first one, I mean, you were talking about this is a 5 to 6 hour long commitment for this story, and that's a lot to do for a single story.
Not to mention too the fact that there's that, you know, whatever whatever loose threads that were not resolved in the first movie, they're going to have to be resolved in this movie.
Yes.
Right. So as you know, as I said in the trailer, you know, it's the epic conclusion, and usually anything that's epic is going to be quite long. And I would be curious just to see what exactly or how much of a role Dorothy and her friends play in the whole thing, because whenever we look at the Wizard of Oz, our frame of reference in terms of characters are going to be Dorothy and the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Cowardly Lion, right? So you know, so whether we want to admit it or not, we very much want to know like what roles, you know, these guys play in the storyline, even if they're not the main characters, right? Because I mentioned it already, but it kind of sounds like they're going to play a crucial role in the movie, even if we're not going to see them that much, you know, in the movie. And you kind of have to wonder, you know, just how much of a role are they going to play in bringing down Alphaba, if they are at all, or if it's one of those things where it's like, you know, we get to meet Dorothy and her friends, but we're not going to show you what happens because you have to watch the original Wizard of Oz in order to see that.
Yes.
You know, unless they decide, hey, you know what needs a reboot? The Wizard of Oz.
Oh
so,
God, no!
So we're going to tell the story.
Let's not put any ideas out there that don't know to be out there. But yeah, there obviously is a lot. I think having them in the trailer is probably a really smart move to get people that did like the original one more invested. Which, not to say that they wouldn't be to get anything from the Wizard of Oz universe, but I do think it is a very creative and I would think a smart thing to include them. Even if they maybe don't have a major role, it's good to see them in there because I think it's going to get people to talk about it more.
Well, the movie comes out on November 21st, so a week before the Thanksgiving holiday. So let us know down in the comments below what your thoughts are. Are you going to be seeing the conclusion to Wicked out in theaters, or are you just going to sit back and wait? Or if you're fans of our show, are you going to wait for us to do a review? Because we do plan on doing it. We do plan on doing a review around February, March for the Oscars. But other than that, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next review. Take it easy.